All right, everybody. How's everybody doing? Give me 1 second and we'll get right to it.
Money on the counter so long, so light flash blue through a tinted pane. Everything holy got a barcode name. Midnight prayer with a rum stained tongue. Fire on a loop, same song. Blessings burn in a private jet flame. Heaven look close, but it don't feel the same. I've been drowning slow in a silver sea. Every ghost in the glass look just like me. Don't know what I lost, can't find what's true. But the sound keep calling, I'm coming through. Give me something I can feel. Like the sky just so I can feel. If there's God in a wire, let it spark for me. Send a sign through the noise I breathe. Give me something I can feel. Something realer than the way I feel. If there's God in a wire, let it speak for me. I've been waiting on a heart that beats. Glass of codeine in a crystal cup. Love turn ash when a flame too much. I've been rich, I've been lost, I've been both at once. Still the mirror keep asking what I want. Penthouse view, but the sky looked at. Whole world turns off when I lay my head. Got angels and Prada, demons and fur. They all sing loud, but the words still blur. If I fall, then I just play that song. The one that says we ain't here long. I don't need peace, I just need proof. Oh, that the static can still be true. Give me something I can feel. Like the sky just so I can feel. If there's God in the wire, let it spark for me. Send a sign through the noise I breathe. Give me something I can hear. Something realer than the way I did. If there's God in the wire, let it speak for me. I've been waiting on a heart that beats. Yeah. Smoking a halo, voice in the static. God in the wire, still automatic. White noise filling up a gold hotel. Money on the counter so long, so light flash blue through a tinted pane. Everything holy got a barcode.
I'm just sharing the stream and all that. Give me a second, guys.
Rum stained tongue. Fire on a loop, same song. Blessings burn in a private jet flame. Heaven look close, but it don't feel the same. I've been drowning slow in a silver sea. Every ghost in the glass look just like me. Don't know what I lost,
All right.
can't find what's true. But the
Are we ready to get it going?
sound I'm coming through.
Can you guys please share,
Give me something I can
like,
feel.
leave a little comment,
So I can feel.
you know? All that good stuff.
Wire, let it spark for me. Send a sign through the noise I breathe. Give me something I can hear. Something realer than the way I feel. If there's God in the wire, let it speak for me. I've been waiting on a heart that beats. Glass of codeine in a crystal cup. Love turn ash when a flame too much. I've been rich, I've been lost, I've been both at once. Still the mirror keep asking what I want. Penthouse view, but the sky looked at. Whole world turns off when I lay my head. Got angels and Prada, demons and fur. They all sing loud, but the words still blur. If I fall, then I just play that song. The one that says we ain't here long. I don't need peace, I just need proof. Oh, that the static can still be true. Give me something I can feel. Like the sky just so I can feel. If there's God in the wire, let it spark for me. Send a sign
Huh?
through the noise I breathe. Give me something I can hear, something realer than the way I did. If there's God in a wire, let it speak for me. I've been waiting on a heart that beats. Yeah. Smoking a halo, voice in the static. God in a wire, still automatic.
All right, let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, King Wakata. And we out here in these YouTube streets trying to survive. You know what I mean? Let's hide this. So, got a little thing. I like to do these little monologues. And it's just to give you guys an idea where my head is at with this stream. So, I want to do that now. And I actually got it up on the screen. I don't be trying to hide nothing. Motherfuckers be, I ain't got time for that shit. I think this is great. And, right, so basically, it's 2026. Governments are finally dropping the UFO UAP bombshells and admitting that non-human intelligence is real. But what if the real story started thousands of years ago? What if the Bible, the Book of Enoch, and the ancient Sumerian tablets weren't just myths or early religions, but ancient humans trying to describe encounters with advanced beings and technologies they couldn't understand? Zachariah Sitchin laid it out in the Lost Book of Enki. The Anunnaki, extraterrestrial visitors from Nibiru, engineered humanity, taught civilization, and became gods of our oldest stories. The Watchers in the Book of Enoch, the giants, the floods, all Anunnaki drama. But here's where it gets even deeper. What if Enoch's heavenly ascent was the sequel to the very first human royal meeting in the Sumerian accounts? The original upgraded human, we know him as Adam, he was known as Adapa. He gets taken before King Anu, the king of the Anunnaki race, on the planet Nibiru for a face-to-face audience with the supreme ruler. Enoch, he's like the next level version, another chosen human brought up to stand before the ultimate king, receives the full cosmic download of secrets and returns as a scribe and witness. And those angels in the Book of Enoch, the way they were named, God is my light, the healer, the strong one, sounds exactly how the Anunnaki gave each other titles and epithets based on their powers, roles, and qualities. Lord of Wisdom, Lord, Storm Lord, Fashioner of Life, same entities, just translated through a different cultural lens. Some of these beings were likely extraterrestrials, flying in from another planet. Others feel interdimensional, stepping through from other realms, bending reality itself. Tonight we're connecting the dots. Sumerian clay tablets, Enoch's vision of the heavenly court, the UAP disclosure that is happening right now. If ancient religions were just witnesses, reporting of both extraterrestrial and interdimensional contact, then what we are watching unfold in 2026 is the oldest story on Earth continuing in real time. So, the chat is open. I really do want you guys to drop your thoughts on this because I'm very curious. I have this idea that these are what I just read for you guys is my ideas of what's going on. I don't feel like having a book and all that, so I tell Chat GPT what I want to say, and it just puts it together for me. Anything I don't like, I take out. But I believe, I don't know if you guys ever watch Monsters of California, right? It gets a lot of shit, but I think there is one scene in there when they're in this little trailer and they got this conspiracy board behind them, and the guy is trying to explain to them that there are different types of aliens or NHI that are all dealing with humanity, and that different types of NHI, excuse me, influence different cultures differently, and their influence molds that culture and molds the religion. So I think this is all connected. Um, I want to watch a couple things here. Let's start with this right here. That is, Joe Rogan.
Rep Luna.
And we got to give Joe Rogan so much credit because honestly, if it wasn't for Rogan and how his podcast, even when it wasn't as big as it is today, he was always into that subject. He was always into, this esoteric stuff. And I can really say before there was a UFO community online the way it is now, it was Rogan and his friends. That's where the UFO community was, in the comments section of his fucking videos, or in Reddit, people discussing his videos. I don't think anybody can really sit here and try to say that during when it almost seemed like nobody even talked about UFOs no more, Rogan made sure to keep people interested. So shout out to Joe for that. Let's see.
She came on my podcast too, and she was telling me some stuff that was just like mind blowing. And she really got me to read the Book of Enoch. She's like, you got to read that.
So you have the Ethiopian Orthodox text, which has, I think, 88 books of the Bible in total. But in the Ethiopian Orthodox text, it's basically kind of like a mainline OG version of the Bible. And then sometime in the 4th century, there was actually a group that came together and they removed certain books. And the story goes that Revelations actually had replaced Enoch. And so it's interesting because when you're looking kind of full circle on, you hear the stuff that some of these people are talking about, and then you see and you read the Book of Enoch, which is a wild read, okay? And then you look at kind of what our modern day description is of what angels and entities are versus what Enoch was seeing and reporting in his language and ability at that time. I think that there's a lot that brings you to then ask the question, well, why would they remove this information? If it's truly, written in part of the oldest Bible in the world, why would they then take it out?
And that could have easily been attached to the religious canon. But some rabbis disagreed with it because it didn't vibe with the Torah. So let's chuck that one out. But it's in the same lump of Dead Sea Scrolls as they have the Book of Isaiah, which is really fascinating because Wes Huff, when he was on my podcast, explained to me that the Book of Isaiah that they found in the Dead Sea Scrolls is verbatim the same as the Book of Isaiah that was 1,000 years more recent.
Whoa.
1,000 years. So this was the old.
That's another thing that cracks me up about archaeologists and these academics. They really think people back then were just stupid. Like, they didn't think there were people today that would hear stories and be like, nah, that's full of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and writing was a thing that was, you had to study. Like, regular people didn't write. These were scribes and people, if you were going to write, it wasn't just going to be to make shit up. And I think the fact that some of these stories are that old and are still word for word, like, nah, we got to keep this as it was. I think that lends a certain amount of credence. Now, when it comes to a lot of these things, I don't believe them in terms of, space daddies and shit like that. I don't really. All right. I don't really pay too much attention to that. Like I just look at it and I understand like okay, what were they trying to explain? Like today we can look at it with our with our technological brain. Like we understand technology. It's ingrained in us. We can hear these stories and pick up on something that sounds technological compared to how they describe it.
Oldest version that they thought was the oldest version. And then they found the Dead Sea Scrolls version, which was 1,000 years older, verbatim. Fascinating. And the Book of Enoch's in there.
There you go.
Like, what are they talking about? What are you talking about? The Watchers came down and they mated with humans and they created a race that was a giant race that destroyed everything and consumed everything. That sounds like us.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that sound like us? If you're some flimsy, tiny alien thing with no musculature and a large head, and you make giants, you make football players, you make marauding Vikings, that are just showing up in boats and hacking everybody to pieces. That's how you would describe them.
Yep.
You would describe them giants destroyed everything.
Yes.
It's all very weird stuff, man.
And
Really
Enoch
weird
himself goes
stuff.
through this amazing personal transformation where he goes up to heaven, he walks with God, and then he turns into Metatron, this angel. And a lot of people think that's part of kind of a celestial ascent tradition. So you have celestial.
And again, this goes very much into what I was saying, how the Anunnaki changed your name according to your title, according to some type of trait or something you did. Like, so he went from Enoch and he received a title from them. And his new name with the title was Metatron. Like, all this falls in line with the Anunnaki structure.
Celestial ascent traditions and various traditions, and the wheels of Ezekiel, or some people think in the Book of Acts Jesus does this, or Paul has the thorn in the flesh where he sees God, and so maybe there's something around ascending up into this state and coming back down, and there's a translation function where it's hard to say, once you've ascended, it's hard to say what you've seen, like in the Murescu immortality key, where there's like a fight club around it or something.
Mm-hmm.
This is the fight club of the ancient world. Whatever happened there, no one talked about it under penalty of death. I mean, people went to Eleusis as human beings, and from what little testimony survived, again, because it's secret, under penalty of death, they walked away thinking they were immortal.
This all sounds really insane, I'm sure, to the average
Yeah, but I mean, you would
person,
have to have a fight club around it because no one's going to understand, nor are they going to take
you serious. This the scene we was just watching. They got the whole movie, but we ain't got time for that. And all the others together with them took upon themselves wives. Now, this is where things get confused with people, right? The Anunnaki also had watchers. The watchers were Anunnaki, but they were of a different, like, it seems like the Anunnaki had a caste system, right? So the people below the royals, who were the Anunnaki, they had different titles. You know what I'm saying? They had a different name for them. I forgot what they called them, but they had a different name for them. And these people were watchers, and they petitioned Enki and Enlil to have wives because they found out Enki was taking on wives for himself. Well, not wives, but he had children with humans. And they were angry that they were being denied the right to take wives. So they decided to let them do it. What is this? Is this the same shit? Let me find out. I just found This guy's stealing. Oh, this guy's stealing. Dun dun dun. Yo, shout out to Jess. None of y'all were talking about Enoch 2 days ago. The beautiful Rep Luna posts one tiny little tweet. Now you're all tripping over yourselves, competing over who's the biggest expert is on the Book of Enoch. Y'all crack me up. Shout out to her, right? Because I chimed in, I said armchair experts, and she recognized something. She really said, "You, my friend, are actually the one exception to my post. I've heard you mention the Book of Enoch more than anyone else in our community prior to Luna's tweet." Thank you, Jess. I truly appreciate that because sometimes it feels like I'm talking to a wall. Like I've been trying to explain this to people. If you sit down and you read the Lost Book of Enki and then you look at the Book of Enoch, and Enoch was interacting with Anunnaki, but Enoch's time is, thousands of years after the Sumerians. Um, and then it all combined properly. The way they take him up, they explain to him the things, the same shit they did with Adam or Adapa when they took him up to meet King Anu. So weird. We discussed the Book of Enoch in my last book club meeting, particularly the description of what each fallen angel introduced to humanity. Now, this is my thing, right? When they say fallen angel, they're putting negative connotation on these people. Why? Because they believe that these fallen angels rebelled against God, right? But this is the thing. The book of Genesis comes directly from the ancient Sumerian tablets, right? And when you look at the ancient Sumerian tablets, all it is, it was showing you that there was a faction. You had the Enlil faction and you had the Enki faction in the beginning. And then as they had kids and shit, their kids started their own bullshit issues and all that. That's where you go to Sodom and Gomorrah and all that. All of that stuff is in the Sumerian tablets. So when they talk about fallen angels coming in and taking wives, and the fallen angels and all that, they're really describing the factions. Uh, the God in the Old Testament, in the Old Bible that we know of, is really nothing more but an amalgamation of Enki, Enlil, and a couple other the Anunnaki little things here and there. But it's really Enki and Enlil, right? And the Bible, what it did was take these stories, and rather than have a bunch of different gods, they just put them together. That's all it is. So these watchers, fallen angels, the Nephilim, they were all the. Let me see if I can. Damn, I don't remember. What were the watchers called in the book of Enki? They were the workers before humans were created. And the Gigi. There you go. Uh, no, hold on. What it was? Donunaki, the main guy, sharing the heavy back-breaking toil in the mines. Right. There you go. Yeah. The Gigi were essentially the rank and file astronauts or lesser Anunnaki who did actual grunt work, digging, hauling, operation equipment. After a long time, the Gigi rebelled. Enough. We will no longer carry the load. This mutiny is the key event that leads Enki, with help from Nima, which was his wife, to propose genetically engineering a new servant race, the primitive workers, early humans, to take over the labor. This is in direct parallel people draw to the book of Enoch, the Watchers, the 200 angels who descended. Look, I was just talking about this without even, you know, uh, who descended, took human wives, taught forbidden knowledge, and produced the Nephilim, giants, who are often equated in Sitchin's inspired theories with Ijiji. The Watchers observe who got restless, uh, the Watchers, observers, who got restless, rebelled, or crossed boundaries and interacted with humanity in ways that caused chaos. Now, they're saying this, but they were given permission to take wives because there were Watchers in the Mars, I believe it was. Um, yeah. Let me see.
I got into the book of Enoch recently, which is
Yeah. Let's see.
I think what's hard for some people, and I get this, some people are deeply religious out there, no matter what their faith is, and you're a Christian, and I think some people are embracing it, but also confronting this idea like.
See, but this is my problem. Stop phrasing it with this fucking religious overview, with this religious overtone. It's not needed. Um, your religion comes from older texts, the Sumerian texts. um, were the Bible and all that, as they were created and all that, like further readings of interactions with these supreme beings? Maybe. But we understand from the ancient texts that they knew they could live and die and had life and death cycles. So they weren't like angels and demons and gods in the sense that they were all, eternal. They're not. So it's just this argument just gets under my skin because it's like missing the forest for the trees. You know what I'm saying? Like down here, this guy, 200 fallen angels from the book of Enoch, still running the world to this day. It's like, it's not, they're not fallen angels, bro. Like, they're not. You're just wrong.
How do I square this with my faith if there's either something else out there? But you're saying that it could actually maybe mesh with your faith.
Well, I think that the Bible's pretty clear that humanity was not its only creation. And I'm not saying that these are, items that were addressed in the Bible, but it is interesting that if you look at historical context and also documents that have existed throughout time in humanity, and we can get probably into a whole nother topic on that, but you read into the book of Enoch, a lot of this advanced technologies is potentially referenced then. And so all I'm saying is that from a national security perspective, we, the American people, deserve to know what the government has. They shouldn't be hiding it, and that's what we're here to push for.
Yeah, we do. I think what's hard for some people.
I ain't mad at it. Let's see, man. What's this guy talking about?
Are the 200 angels who fell in the book of Enoch still around running?
I'm not doing it because of the music. Kiss my ass. What is this? Yeah, fuck you too. Create your own with God. I'm alright. Alex Jones tells Joe Rogan the book of Enoch is 100% real and an alien story. Ezekiel vision just dropped. 3 burning wheels land. Blue firmament overhead. Crystal firmament floating off the ground. Face shifting a video screen. Let's see.
Bible says, the Old Testament, New Testament, which is pretty powerful. I know people misinterpret it.
These people, oh shit, look. Yeah, look. This is me talking about this back in December 2025. So y'all see, Lost Book of Enki, not Enoch, and I never said it was the truth. I said it was. I don't know. I don't know what I meant by that. I fucking wrote that wrong. Let's see. The Book of Enoch is not a Christian book and really has nothing to do with Christianity. The Book of Enoch was part of the Torah originally and considered the Jewish version of apocryphal literature similar to what was written Christian. Sorry, King Wakata. Oh, yeah. Wrong. I was talking about the wrong book. All right, so we're going to look at Enki now. Look, you see mad shit. Let's see latest, because, geez. Enki is real. I know this. Of course. Well, let's put it like this, because Lost Book of Enki. What is this? No. Let's see for the top. Put, in case somebody writes something I can see. Let's see. Spoiler alert. Pyramids were built by ancient beings known as Anunnaki, as explained in the Lost Book of Enki by ancient Sumerians. That is correct. That's what the book says. Browse through more than 3,000 years of ancient Egyptian history discovers famous and less famous pharaohs from the end of prehistory and around 400,000 years ago, closing of the last Egyptian temple. Their pharaohs and gods lived many thousands of years. Why? This is explained in the ancient records. They were from the stars. Book of Enoch full movie. This is the one I read.
1,000 years ago, astronauts from another planet came to Earth in search of gold. Splashing down in one of the Earth's seas, they waded ashore and established Iridu, home in the faraway. In time, the initial settlement expanded to a full-fledged mission Earth with a mission control center, a spaceport, mining operations, and even a way station on Mars. And there's lots of evidence of that. I mean, it absolutely is to me no coincidence. And anybody wants to make you believe it's a coincidence is a liar. That the
Here's a little synthesis for you. Full research on this is stunning. So let's just say Enoch and Maduranki 2.0, correct, was taken up in one Enoch 1433 and again in Book of Giants, Qumran fragments. What if the being who met him on the other side of the crystal portal was explicitly one of the seven Kalu, not God, Yahweh, or one of the 50 Anunnaki watchers? The clues are blaring. Enoch's God is silent, speaks only in light and geometry, never boasts. The 50 Anunnaki always boast. That's true. He shows Enoch the tablets of heaven that contain the precisional numbers and the angles of the foundational stones. He is described as clothed in green fire and having the appearance of a man, yet not a man. Classic Phylum description. I don't know what that is. Most telling, Enoch is warned never to reveal the true name of the guide, only that he is one of the 7 who stood before the throne before the Anuna were numbered. Anunnaki. In the later Hebrew redaction, the name is censored to the Great Glory or the Angel of the Present, but the Aramaic fragments from Qumran still preserve the original epithet. The Phylum, one of the 4. I never sat down and read the Book of Enki all the way through, so I'm very well versed when it comes to the Anunnaki.
Story they don't want you to know. The lost book of Enki memoirs and prophecies of an extra.
I don't know if y'all can hear my dog snoring. That shit is hilarious. So yeah, the Anunnaki, baby. Let's see what we got over here. What you need to know about the Lost Book of Enki. I mean, is this like one of these? There's a lot of people that don't like this shit. Look, Zachariah Sitchin's debunked. Yeah, suck a dick. I'm not trying to hear any of that debunking shit. You know why? It has turned out that the conspiracy theorists are fucking right about damn near everything. What is this? I'm not trying to hear that. So let's just, you know what? Let's do some of this.
The first tablet. The words of the Lord Enki, firstborn son of Anu, who reigns on Nibiru. With heavy spirit I utter laments, laments that are bitter fill my heart. How smitten is the land, its people delivered to the evil wind, its stables abandoned, its sheepfolds emptied. How smitten are the cities, their people piled up as dead corpses, afflicted by the evil wind.
Now, what they're talking about here, the evil wind and all that, they're talking about I guess they're giving a little bit anyway. There is basically the Sodom and Gomorrah story, which basically was that the Anunnaki waged war against one of Enki's son. It's the son that the Sphinx was actually built to look like. I mean, actually built for. Later on, even the Anunnaki speak of how the Sphinx was defaced. But they're talking about that war when they released the weapons of death, and one of them was an evil wind, and it destroyed everything.
How smitten are the
Because the crazy part is, if you look at what they talk about and the destruction and all that, if you look at the Hindu uh, stories, if you look at the Hindu stories, they talk about the gods fighting too.
Fields, their vegetation withered, touched by the evil wind. How smitten are the rivers, nothing swims anymore, pure sparkling waters turned into poison. Of its black-headed people, Shumer is emptied, gone is all life. Of its cattle and sheep Shumer is emptied, silent as the hum of churning milk. In its glorious cities, only the wind howls, death is the only smell. The temples whose heads to heaven arose by their gods have been abandoned. Of lordship and kingship command there is none, scepter and tiara are gone. On the banks of the two great rivers, once lush and life-giving, only weeds grow. No one treads the highways, no one seeks out the roads. Flourishing Shumer is like an abandoned desert. How smitten is the land, home of gods and men. On that land a calamity fell, one unknown to man. A calamity that mankind had never before seen, one that could not be withstood. On all the lands, from west to east, a disruptive hand of terror was placed. The gods, in their cities, were helpless as men. An evil wind, a storm born in a distant plain, a great calamity wrought in its path. A
Yeah.
death-dealing wind born in the west its way to the east has made, its course set by fate. A storm devouring as the deluge, by wind and not by water a destroyer, by poisoned air, not tidal waves, overwhelming. By fate, not destiny, was it engendered. The great gods, in their council, the great calamity had caused. By Enlil and Ninarsak it was permitted. I alone for a halt was beseeching. Day and night to accept what the heavens decree I argued, to no avail. Ninurta, Enlil's warrior son, and Nergal, my very own son, poisoned weapons in the great plain then unleashed. That an evil wind shall follow the brilliance we knew not. They now cry in agony. That the death-dealing storm, born in the west, its course to the east shall make, who
Okay.
could foretell? The gods now bemoan. In their holy cities, the gods stood disbelieving as the evil wind toward
All right. Hold on. I want to read you guys something, right? So as I'm thinking here, because I'm already showing you guys how the ancient Sumerian tablets carry a lot of the stories that you can find in the book of Genesis. And the book of Genesis is the beginning for the Jewish religion, for the Christian religion, and the Islamic religion, and all the other subcults that come from them. And what I'm thinking, I'm like, you know what? Also speaks about that is the the Hindu gods, as I mentioned. So I asked ChatGPT. I just been I give it ideas. I'm like, yo, can you compare this to this and tell me what you find? So I've already been, putting together the idea with the Book of Enki, Book of Enoch, and I asked it to add the stories of the Hindu gods. And does that fit the Anunnaki stories if they were translated by a different culture? Um, ChatGPT says yes. Uh, in the what if religions were just ancient humans recording real NHI contact framework we're running with, the Hindu stories read like the Anunnaki saga translated through a completely different cultural lens. Same beings, same events, different names and flavors. Ancient astronaut theorists, building on Sitchins and von Daniken, have been pointing this out for years, and it gives your show an even bigger global NHI punch. I'm talking about the show, I'm talking about doing the stream. That's how I was talking to it. Uh, some of the key parallels. Um, Devas, the shining gods of the Vedas, higher ranking Anunnaki, the council who came from the sky heavens. Both are celestial rulers who bring knowledge, civilization, and order. Asuras, the powerful, often rebellious anti gods, is the same as the Ijiji, the worker class who rebelled, or the warring Anunnaki factions, Enki versus Enlil side. The endless Devas versus Asuras was mirror the Anunnaki civil wars and the Ijiji uprising that led to human creation. Vimanas, flying chariots, machines described in the Mahabharata, Ramayana, and Vimanika Shastra, Anunnaki spacecraft, and the same chariots of fire Enoch saw. These are detailed as glowing aerial vehicles that can travel between worlds, hover, and unleash devastating weapons. Exactly like the tech the Watchers taught humanity in the Book of Enoch. Trimurti, Brahma the creator, Vishnu the preserver, Shiva the destroyer, Anu, Enki, Enlil trio, Enki, wise water creator god, lines up with Vishnu, Enlil, storm, destiny ruler, with Shiva's destructive, regenerative side, Anu, sky king with Brahma, human creation and labor. Hindu texts have gods forming humans from sacrifice or clay for divine purposes. Sitchin's Enki does the exact same thing with the primitive worker to replace the rebellious Ijiji. Uh, Interdimensional twists fit even better here. Some of the Vimanas aren't just metal ships. Later Vedic descriptions make them sound consciousness powered or reality bending, which lines up with your not just ET, some are dimensional beings angle. This is some of the things that I talked to it about. Sitchin himself hinted at this. He linked Inanna, Ishtar, to Kali and said Anunnaki influence reached India, but the broader ancient aliens crowd runs with it hard. Same NHI visitors showing up in Sumer and ancient India, just remembered differently by each culture. And dude, that is so simple that everybody could understand. Like, yeah, shooting stars, Haley's Comet means something in China and it means something totally different in Africa versus South America versus America. Um, let's see. Let's see. And it's not just Sumer in the Book of Enoch. Flip over to ancient India and you see the same exact story playing out under different names. Hindu devas, the shining gods who fly in Vimanas, look a lot like the higher Anunnaki Council. Their rivals, the Asuras, sound like the rebellious Ijiji workers who sparked the whole drama. The flying machines in the Mahabharata, same tech the Watchers taught humanity. The Trimurti gods creating and shaping the world, straight up echoes of Anu, Enki, and Enlil. Different cultures, same NHI, extraterrestrial miners from Nibiru, and interdimensional reality benders, all remembered as gods because ancient humans had no other words for what they were seeing. So when governments today talk about UAP and non-human intelligence, they're not just revealing something new. They're finally admitting the oldest global story on Earth. The Anunnaki are the same as the gods, as this, it's the same. It's all the same gods remembered differently, right? So here, check this out. What if we add in some of the stories from the Americas, like the Hopi Indian stories or the stories of South America. Let's see what it says, because I can go into more details, but I don't want to overload it with details. Um, let's see. Yes, adding stories from the Americas, especially Hoping and South American traditions like the Inca Andean, fits seamlessly into your global NHI narrative. In the religions as ancient records of extraterrestrial interdimensional contact framework, these become independent memories of the same event. The Sumerians, Enoch, and Hindus describe just filtered through different cultures, environments, and oral traditions. Hopi, North American parallels. Hopi oral tradition describes four worlds, previous ages of humanity, each ending in cataclysm, fire, ice, cold, flood, and the current one facing purification. This mirrors this mirrors the Sumerian Anunnaki cycles of destruction, renewal, and the flood in Genesis and Enoch. Ant people, Anunnaki, or Anu Simon, benevolent underground beings who sheltered the Hopi during world-ending disasters, fire then ice, taught survival skills and guided them. The name breaks down as Anu, Ant, and Naki, friends, strikingly similar to the Anunnaki, offspring of Anu, or those from heaven to earth. In Sitchin's ancient alien interpretations, these could be actions of Anunnaki Ijiji or interdimensional helpers who weren't the mining overlords but more protective watchers or technicians. Some link them directly to the rebellious Ijiji workers or even the watchers who interacted benevolently before the fall. Spider Grandmother, Kokiangu, a creator figure who molds humans from clay, breathes life into them, and teaches harmony with the earth, almost identical to Enki. And Nima, genetically engineering the primitive worker from clay, plus divine essence in the Lost Book of Enki. She also guides migrations and survivals, echoing Enki's role as the helpful, wise guide who warns about the flood and defies harsher rules, like Enlil. Kachinas, Katsiman, spirit beings who come from the stars or other realms, bring knowledge, maintain balance, and return cyclically, often depicted with masks and then petroglyphs that ancient aliens theorists compared to astronauts and interdimensional entities. The Blue Star Prophecy, a bright star signaling the end of the current world ages, ties into modern UFO disclosure vibes, like a return of the sky people. Um, Hopi stories emphasize survival, underground guidance by non human beings, and repeated resets, less about gold mining, overlords, and more about protective factions or dimensional helpers during catastrophes. Uh, South American parallels, Viracocha, Inca creator god, emerges from the waters like Enki, the water wise god, creates humans, sometimes from clay or stones, teaches civilizations agriculture and laws, then travels teaching. His early creations were giants who rebelled and were destroyed by a great flood, direct echo of the Anunnaki creating humans as laborers, the Ijiji rebellion, the Watchers producing giants Nephilims, and the Flood judgment. Viracocha is often shown with a staff, a beard, and a sun disk, and some legends say he left promising to return, similarly to sky gods departing after intervention. Quetzalcoatl, Kukulkan, Mesoamerican with South American overlaps. Feather serpent god who brings knowledge, calendars, and civilizations from the sky or sea. Described as described as arriving in advanced vehicles or with great power. Some versions involve conflict with other gods and a departure. This lines up with Enki and Lil dynamics. The teaching watchers in Enoch and Hindu devil Asuras bring in tech, the Vimanas. Common themes across, and uh, one of Enki's symbol was a serpent with wings. Common themes across Americas: giant races destroyed in floods, creator gods fashioning humans for a purpose, sky beings or star people imparting forbidden useful knowledge, and cyclical destructions, renewals. So, what? I'll ask Grok one more thing, and then we'll get out of here. After all these points, what is your thoughts on this? My battery is low. Where we at? I'm on 6%. All right, let's do this. You think everyone made the same thing up? All right, let's see. Um, Let me see. My honest take as Grok. Independent invention explains the broad strokes. Humans love stories about powerful sky underground fixing, but the density and consistency of the details across Sumer, Judea, India, Hopi, Miz, and Andes suggests something deeper than pure fiction it could be. A shared ancient memory, a real cataclysm, young and dry's impact 12,000 years ago filtered through oral tradition. Early long distance contacts were common ancestral cultures whose stories diverged as groups migrated, or in the fun hypothetical we've been playing with our stream, actual non human intelligence, whether extraterrestrial miners, engineers, interdimensional conscious beings, or both interacting with early humans in different religions, getting remembered according to local worldview, environment, and needs. Cultures didn't make up the thing in a vacuum. They were wrestling with real experiences, natural disasters, and stuff like that, and encoding them as best they could with the language symbols had. The result, variation on a global theme, feels eerily connected. There you go. Okay, listen, across the thousands of years, entire ocean, Sumerians, clay tablets, the Book of Enoch, Hindu Vedas, Hopi oral traditions, and Inca legends. The exact same story keeps repeating. Advanced non-human beings came from the sky and other realms. They created and shaped humanity. Some thought forbidden knowledge, others rebelled. Giants walked the earth, cataclysms reset the world. Different names: Anunnaki, Watchers, Shigigis, Divas, Asuras, Ant People, Viracocha. But the plot never changes. Coincidence? Or were our ancestors simply recording real encounters with both